As you can probably see, there is a lot going on in the world. And a lot of this has to do with the energy that is changing on the planet, that is changing in our own individual personal lives as well. And in this video, I'm gonna share with you the 3 things you must know about the rest of 2020, about the energy and things to look out for that are extremely important. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now on this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you honestly, I'll be opening up and sharing with you some of the personal themes that I'm going through right now in my life, but also just some things that I see that are also happening in the collective consciousness. Now, for those of you that don't know, I believe what is happening is something called the Great Awakening. Now, the Great Awakening, you might look around and you might say, well, there's so much things that are happening in the world that are kind of tearing apart. There's some negative things that are happening. How could there be a Great Awakening happening? Well, actually, recently, that of Eckhart Tolle, many of you may know of Eckhart Tolle, wrote the book, The Power of Now. I'm seeing if I have the book. I don't think I do, actually. It's in my Kindle. The book, The Power of Now, and he talked about it. He was on Russell Brand's podcast recently, and he said that a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world right now is spawning awakenings inside of people. It is something that I have noticed. It is something that is just happening because so many people are questioning things. There's things happening in the government. There's people are starting to realize how skewed the media is. And when that stuff's happening, people are then going within themselves and saying something feels off here. And for those of you that haven't seen my Great Awakening videos, I talk about how the media keeps us in a certain level of consciousness so that we're in fear and we're much more able to be controlled. Well, what's happening is people are waking up to this. People are waking up and they're taking their power back. So on the collective level, what is happening is so much of the old paradigms are breaking down. And as the old paradigms break down, we can then lay out something to be new. But there have been people that have been, this will sound kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but there have been people that have been in power for such a long time, even behind people we may have never seen before. We call them the elite. What happens is they may have had power for such a long time that now what they're doing is kind of like their last cards to try to keep us separated from each other, to keep us in fear and anger, and then they can, in a way, control in the way that they are desperately trying to, because too many people are waking up. So in an energetic sense, there's so much light that is being brought onto the planet that it is bringing up the collective shadow. It is bringing up the shadow within us for us to become aware of and for us to then let go of. So the amount of control is to try to keep from the elite or whatever we call it, is to keep us in a certain level of consciousness so that we're much easier to control and we're much more likely to give up our power and to listen to authority, because when you're in fear, you crave certainty. There's definitely a lot of patterns there if you look at a lot of what's happening in the world. Now, one of the most important things, though, is to be able to observe and to not react what's happening in the world, because if you're watching this video, then you're someone that we could call a light worker. And a light worker is somebody that came here to hold light, to become aware and go through the spiritual awakening in a way first, so that then the energy momentum begins to build, so that then more and more people can go through it. So while a lot of people are tripping out about the news and talking about everything that's happening, you may have like a sense or a knowing that there's something else going on. Maybe you're meditating. Whatever you're doing, you're adding value by being you. And the reason I say you're a light worker is you can't perceive that. You can only perceive that which you're the vibration of, and you're watching this video right now. And I chose to say that. So, okay, the 3 things you must know for the rest of 2020. Now, the first one I'm actually going to do, I'm going to switch these around a little bit. First one is to let go of old attachments. Right now, I've been having an attachment to a couple things in my life. One is control. I've been controlling, having a certain amount of willpower. And I'm noticing that this new energy of 2020, it's about surrendering and allowing things to happen versus trying to control it so much. It's almost like the old way of going about manifestation, the old way of going about achieving your goals doesn't really work anymore. What I'm finding is that what I need to do is to let go, and as I let go, I allow much more magic into my life. So I've realized this when it comes to even like old relationships in a way as well. I've been going back and forth knowing that it's just time to let go. It's time to let go and to move on. And it makes it so much easier once you start to really tap into the energy. But I think a lot of people are being shown right now and given like opportunities to go down one route or the other. And maybe one route's very comfortable. Maybe one route's like, oh, I know what's going down this route. I know that it's comfortable and it's a little bit more certain. But then there's another opportunity. And I think the other opportunity may seem a little bit like, oh, I got to step into the unknown. It seems a little scary, but I think it's going to be totally worth it. So when we talk about letting go of old attachments, it could be you being around friends that are draining your energy. It could be you always going and you having a job that you hate, that you just feel attached to because you've been doing it for so long. It could be you attached to the outcome, or you attached to a desire of something you really want. And what you can begin to do is you can begin to realize you're already whole and complete, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to let go of the old attachment, knowing that when you make room and you let go of something, you make room for something else. So in my own life, letting go of attachments, I'm also letting go of this belief. I've had this belief for a long time that I need to always make daily videos on YouTube. And I want to step, like, it's almost like, think of it like this. There's the old identity. The old identity is very familiar. It's very comfortable. There's a lot of certainty there. A lot of times we think our identity is fixed too. A lot of people don't know that your identity is just who you choose to be. And what I'm finding is that this old identity has a certain story, has a certain way that I've been living, and that a lot of that has to do with making YouTube videos and working and having that really strong work ethic. But what I'm realizing is I want to wire in this new version of me, wire in it's my ideal version. I can make a choice. It's flexible. This future us is flexible. When we start to see it like that, it starts to become easier to move into that. But what I'm realizing is, even though I want to move into live events, and I want to move into traveling the world, and I want to move into this new reality, there's something about this old reality of YouTube I'm almost afraid to let go of. It's almost like I'm afraid to stop doing and making YouTube videos, as if like everything I've grown is somehow going to go away because I stopped making, instead of 6 videos a week, I made like 3 videos a week, And it's funny because for 2 years now, I've been talking about how I want to do that. I want to let go of having to make daily videos. And I got that insight while at a life transformation place in Costa Rica a couple years ago. But I didn't actually stop making videos, which means I didn't really believe that I didn't have to, or something. I don't know what it was. I do like making videos, but I think I felt like I was making it out of more self-preservation than I was growth. And what I'm realizing this year is that I really have to, in a way, it's almost like I'm on one of those stones on like a river or something like that. And then there's like another stone, and it's almost like I'm afraid to let go of one, because if I let go of one, it's like I'm letting go of like everything I built. But I have to let go and move my foot and then move to the other stone so I can get to the stone in the front. So one thing I'm really working on is letting go of my attachment to my story about that, and knowing it's okay for me to let go of this old identity, this old way of being, and to change the way I relate to it. So the first one is to let go of attachments for 2020. So many people that I've met are going through this process. They're being tempted by the past, but the key is to be aware of it and to really know what's good for you. Now, the second thing, we'll go to the first one, is to leap into the new. Now, for me, this is like, there's a certain level of comfort that I've had from making videos and to having most of my business be online. Moving into live events, there's a little bit more cost there. There's a little more expenses. There's a lot more energy. It's traveling. There's like a certain story I think that's also been holding me back. And I think that that's because, once again, there's like a fear of leaping into the new. Somehow it's like, if I want to, but for some reason I'm so comfortable with that old attachment, with the old familiar way of doing things, that it's holding me back. So leaping into the new. So many of you are at huge transition points right now in your life. There's like, oh, could I go down this one route, this one job I didn't care about, this one relationship that I know is not working? Can I keep doing this, or can I jump into something new? Now, here's the thing. As you heard the quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza, our personality creates our personal reality. Our personality is a combination of how we think, feel, and act. And if we keep thinking, feeling, and acting the same way, we'll always get the same result. The key to creating a new reality for you, which is what the end of 2020 is all about, is leaping into the new, because in the unknown is only where magic can happen. And the unknown is where you create something magical and new. In the known, you're only going to get the same thing you've always got. So the thing that I encourage you to do is to make that leap, is to start that business. It's to talk to that person. It's to start that hobby. It's to start that blog, start that podcast, set the intention and just do it. And as you leap into the new, you'll find that when you're in a new experience, you have new opportunity. You start to develop a new passionate energy that is very contagious. But the more you stay in the familiar, the more you stay in everything you've always done, is the more you're going to get what you've always got. So the thing I would encourage you to do is to acknowledge where you are and acknowledge everything you've been doing. Acknowledge the ideal version of you and the passion that makes sure your heart's connected to it, and wire that in with action. Action is the bridge between these two realities. And as you begin to take action, you'll find that then you start to have this momentum that really begins to build. So the third thing that you must know for the rest of 2020 is all about stretching your identity into this transition point. Stretching your identity beyond the limitations that you've been living in, and stretching your identity into knowing as well that you are an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. We're going through a collective process right now of remembering who we are. Every single one of us came here to experience this and came here to be a part of this transition, this great awakening of who we really are, of seeing the pony show. And it's going to sound esoteric. I've shared it many times, but we come to this planet and we forget who we are. We're eternal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. We forget who we are so we can go through the process of remembering who we are. And part of the process of remembering who we are is doing what we're passionate about, creating life on our terms, and going through and doing and creating that momentum in our life. But most people forget that. They start to identify with their avatar ego. The key to this is stretching the identity, knowing that the identity is something, it's just a choice you've made. It's just a choice. You've said, I am only capable of this. I'm a shy person. I'm this, I'm that. That's just labels, and it's an agreement that you've made at this point in the past. Get uncomfortable. Step into the unknown, and also observe the craziness happening in the world. Observe it like you're looking through a glass wall, but you don't have to actually engage and be in that fear. And as you begin to do that, you're going to begin to take your power back. You know what Bashar said, I had a reading with Bashar, my buddy Victor Otto, and I. What he said is that moving forward, the collective timeline that we shift to is going to depend on our individual vibration. So basically, there's many different parallel realities that are going on right now. I know it sounds esoteric, but there's many different parallel realities going on in collective timelines. Now, the one we shift to will depend on our vibration. And what he said was, to Victor and I, we're like, well, we feel like we're on a more optimal timeline. Like things get better and better for us. He said, exactly. He says, the key is choosing and being in the preferred state you want, not buying into the fear, even when it comes to these rabbit holes you may go down as well. Some of the rabbit holes may be kind of dark. You start learning about the government and the elite and all that stuff and some of the things they do. But once you become aware of it, what you do is you let it go and you put your energy into actually what fuels you, what your mission is, what your purpose is, and you'll find that then you shift to the most optimal timeline rather than getting sucked in. That's what makes the biggest difference. And if you haven't checked out or know what I'm talking about with the Great Awakening, I'll go ahead and put some videos right here as a playlist. Also, click below. You will see that of different parts of the Great Awakening that maybe you haven't heard of before. Can you like this video? If you like this video, if you want me to do more videos where I'm kind of walking around as well, subscribe if you haven't already. I make a lot of videos and I have a lot more good stuff coming. Other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.